Spider-Man 2 is set to swing onto the scene in amazing fashion later this month, and to say that we're excited is kinda like saying that the Rhino has quite the temper, aka a bit of an understatement. Therefore, we've compiled everything we think you need to know in order to cross the finish line together in spectacular fashion. So let's have a chat. As I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are 8 things you need to know about Spider-Man 2. Number 8. The wingsuit will make Traversal a breeze. Now, if you thought that swinging through the streets of New York was an absolute joy in the original title or its Miles Morales expansion, then you've seen nothing yet, as things are set to take to the skies in Spider-Man 2 thanks to the new web wings that both Peter and Miles can use. This mechanic will allow players to soar through the air with ease, darting around buildings, and also means that you'll be able to skim over areas with no easily accessible buildings to web swing off of. Plus, as icing to the cake, the dev team has also been hard at work making sure the web swing mechanics are even more tactile and responsive, so overall, it's looking like whatever your methods, the travelling above the city streets is going to be an absolute blast. Just maybe watch your landings though, because in this game, there's apparently fall damage. Yeesh. Number 7. The new Parry system. And speaking of damage, let's talk about the new Parry system, which will allow both Peter and Miles to dial up their combo potential and the game itself to add an extra layer of flexibility and challenge to the fights. The Parry system, as the name suggests, will allow the player to interrupt enemy attacks that carry a yellow spider sense indicator above their heads, in turn dealing massive damage not only to their opponent, but also sometimes using their attacks against their teammates in turn that sets up further combos. Using this in conjunction with the new abilities wheel that's been shown off and your already stacked special move lists likely means that it's going to be possible to take down an entire mob of enemies in one continuous flow, and I am totally here for that. Number 6. You can level up characters together. Now, it's always a pain in RPGs when you invest heavily into one character only to find out that the game forces a perspective switch and now you're controlling another party member who is significantly underleveled compared to your main. Thankfully, the team over at Spider-Man 2 not only foresaw how this issue could arise with their dual protagonist storyline, but they've also implemented a feature that shares experience between the pair, meaning that if you slide into the shoes of Peter after maining Miles, the OG webhead will be rolling in experience points to be used to unlock skills and abilities. Teamwork really does make the dream work. Number 5. New areas to explore. If you thought that you were spoiled for choice exploring the streets of New York in the original game, then Spider-Man 2 is about to blow your expectations out of the water, as not only have these same streets had a ton of fidelity and new features from the comics added in, but now we have 2 whole new areas to explore in the form of Queens and Brooklyn. For residents of these areas in real life who can now swing past their apartment or place of work, this is a dream come true. And for the rest of us, learning that this will effectively double the size of the original game is a mouth-watering proposition indeed, especially as these new areas are sure to be jam-packed with even more comic book references. Number 4. So many outfits. And speaking of references, there are plenty to be found within Spider-Man 2's collective wardrobes, as it's been revealed that there are over 65 different outfits for Miles and Peter to track down and unlock. One of the most appealing parts of the original game was unlocking these pieces of Spider-Man history and then seeing how their unique abilities would help out in battle or traversing the city. And now we've got even more to choose from. The question really comes down to whether you're a player who'll run the rule of cool or maybe sacrifice fashion for a brilliant ability. Let me know which type of player you are down below. Number 3. Your controller is alive. And it seems like we're not the only ones getting hyped about the upcoming Spider-Man 2 release, as even your controller is getting in on the action this time around, as thanks to the PS5's haptic feedback controller and fancy science that I can only assume is actual magic, your controller will gain its own symbiote sense. Now, in the original game, the triggers provided differing resistance when encountering stronger enemies or challenges, but this has been expanded upon by the controller now also resonating with in-game sounds such as pulsing when a nearby bell is rung to simulate the symbiote's hatred for certain tones. It may also pulse when near secrets or even fight back against Peter whilst wearing the symbiote suit, but this has yet to be confirmed. Number 2. Meet and punch familiar faces. Now, even considering that we've only been shown the most scant of scenes from Spider-Man 2 in demos and trailers, there's still so many familiar faces that seem to be showing up in this sequel, implying that this is going to be one jam-packed title. With Kraven selecting Manhattan as his next hunting ground, the Lizard still on the loose, Venom and potentially other symbiotes arriving on the scene, and Harry Osborn returning to Peter's life, there are so many directions that this narrative could take, and that's even before factoring in those close to Miles who are sure to play a heavy role in this story. Yet no matter how you cut it, there's likely to be very little downtime with this many villains running around. And number 1, the release date and special editions. So now we're on to the big question. Just how big a Spider-Man fan are you? Well, if you stroked your chin wistfully and said, I'm around 300 quid's worth of fan right over here, then boy howdy do I have a collector's edition built for your rather specific supporter level. This right here is the collector's edition, which will set you back, you guessed it, 300 British bones, and contains a monstrous 19-inch statue of both Miles and Peter tackling a truly imposing Venom. Not only this, but you also get a bevy of skins, access to a new gadget, free skill points, a steelbook, and of course a digital version of the game. Right, okay. 300 quid and no physical copy of the game. And some of these bonuses are just early access to things that you can clearly unlock in the game itself, so it's kind of like 250-ish quid just for the statue. Okay then, well, if you do want to pre-order this, be my guest, pal. But for the rest of us willing to forego this great deal, you can expect the game to launch on October the 20th, 2023 on PS5. And for more information about Spider-Man 2 and all things gaming related, you can subscribe now to the FGS YouTube channel to stay on the cutting edge, baby. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome, and never forget that, my friends, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.